guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for tonight's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. I do have a summer themed candle to light. This is the Fresh Watermelon from Bath & Body Works. I got this literally like 2 days ago and I'm so excited to light it. It smells like, do you guys remember when we were kids, they were like Pop Rocks? And I think they had like a watermelon flavor. That's exactly what this smells like. It's taking me back to my childhood and I'm so excited. And as soon as I smelt it at Bath & Body Works, I knew I had to buy it because it literally was my childhood in a candle. And I'm very, very excited to have it and light it. And I kind of want to buy their entire line of the Fresh Watermelon because it smells so good. I have a couple of the other watermelon candles and soaps and stuff from over the years, but none of them smell as good as this one. So they did something to this scent and I am just absolutely obsessed with it. It is fresh cut watermelon, pink sea salt, and sweet sunshine. I don't know why they put that kind of thing in the like scent note because like what the fuck does sunshine smell like? My childhood? I don't know. Anyway, I'm so excited to light this candle and I'm excited to jump into this scary story. This is from the scary story section and it's from the Reddit author Aloha Minu and it's titled, My Neighbors Aren't the Same Anymore. And this is going to be probably a 3 or 4 part story. So I probably will come back on for other parts when other parts get loaded because it's very long and there's a bunch of different parts. So this is probably going to be a mini series on my channel and I'm very excited. This happened when I was still a kid, around 11 years old. I lived in a small town with my mom, my dad, and my little brother. In the house across the street lived my best friend. His name was Tyler. He lived with his mom, dad, and older sister. The focus isn't on my family, but on Tyler's. They were chaotic. The father was an alcoholic, constantly arguing with his wife. The mother was almost always in a bad mood, as if there was always something to stress about. The older sister, well, she was going through that rebellious teenager phase. She isolated herself in her room, blasted loud music, and complained about basically everything. It was a loud, confusing, unpredictable house. But it had always been that way, for as long as I could remember. Until one night, something happened, and they were never the same again. I woke up in the middle of the night needing to go to the bathroom. As I passed by the window, I saw that the lights downstairs in Tyler's house were on. When I came back, Miss Mason was in the backyard. Probably the cat had escaped again. Wouldn't be the first time. I watched through the window as she called out the cat's name. The night was cold and the street drowned in darkness. She wore one of those classic mom robes from old sitcoms, and the sound of the wind rustling the trees was the only thing to be heard. Until a loud clatter of metal echoed from the back of the house. That's when I froze, and she hesitated, then decided to go check it out. Even just watching, a deep fear settled in my chest. A fear I couldn't really explain. I felt she shouldn't go, that something was waiting for her in the darkness. And that fear turned out to be right. From behind the house, Miss Mason screamed. Not just any scream, a scream of pure terror. And quickly, it turned into pain. Something or someone had done something to her, and she wouldn't stop screaming. The house, which had been dark, suddenly lit up. Mr. Mason flung the front door open and ran into the backyard. Then, he screamed too. Screams of despair and pain, just like his wife's. And suddenly, everything stopped. Silence fell. A silence so thick, even the crickets didn't dare break it. The strangest thing was that even with those screams echoing through the night, no other house seemed to light up. No one came outside. No living soul appeared. It was as if only I and Mr. Mason had heard the screams. The door to the house stayed open, but even with all the lights on, the inside seemed filled with heavy darkness, like the night itself had entered that home. I wanted to get away. I wanted to close the curtain and run to bed, but I couldn't move. It was like something held me there, frozen at my window. The only thing I could hear was my own breath, shaky and uneven. Then the lights in the house began to turn off, one by one. Left to right, from top to bottom. Then Tyler's room went dark. Then the parents, then the living room, and then finally, the kitchen. The night, once heavy, seemed calm again. The wind picked up once more. I could breathe again. It felt like I hadn't in hours. And that's when I noticed the living room light was back on. And there, standing in the window, was the silhouette of Miss Mason, staring at me. I couldn't make out her face, but I knew it was her. The slam of the door echoed down the street. It was enough to make me step back from the window, run to bed, and hide under my covers. But even there, I could feel her watching me from across the street all night long. I woke up the next morning and everything felt calm. For a moment, I thought it was maybe a dream, but my body still carried that strange chill as if the night was still with me. I went to the window as if something were pulling me there. The Mason's house looked normal. Too normal. Miss Mason was in the garden watering some flowers that, as far as I could remember, were all dry the day before. She wore the same robe as always. Across the yard, Tyler's father was mowing the lawn with a smile on his face. The same man who used to be sprawled on the couch with a beer bottle every Saturday morning. And the daughter, the rebellious one, the one always locked in her room blasting loud music, was now sitting on the porch wearing a floral dress, brushing her hair and reading an old decorating magazine. It looked like a scene out of an old commercial. Something was wrong, very wrong. Miss Mason saw me and she waved. A wide smile from ear to ear was across her face. I closed the curtain and went downstairs for breakfast. My parents and my brother were already seated. My mother talked about things from the market. My father played with my little brother, feeding him, and I couldn't stop thinking about what I had just seen. Mom, I began hesitant. Did you hear anything last night? They all looked at me. What do you mean? Sounds from the Mason's house. Screams. I swear I heard them. She let out a soft laugh. Must have been a dream, sweetheart. My dad, spreading butter on his bread, commented, "Now that you mention it, their house has been weird lately." My mom nodded. True, this morning when I went to get the paper, they were, I don't know, too nice? And no morning fights, my dad added with a muffled laugh. Not even loud music from that girl, my mom said, grabbing the kettle. They became the perfect family overnight. They laughed, but I wasn't laughing. I knew something was seriously wrong with that house, and no one seemed to really care. They found it funny, but I knew what I had saw. Tyler showed up later asking me to play. It would help distract me, or maybe even get me some answers. He was coming down the street, and behind him, in front of the house, Miss Mason kept staring at me, smiling. Next to her was Amber, and I swear I had never seen that girl truly smile before. But now she was, just like her mother. Miss Mason asked Tyler where he was going. She spoke so calmly, it gave me more chills than if she had screamed. "We're going to the park, Mom," Tyler replied. That's when Amber opened her mouth. "May I come with you, little brother?" Immediately, my stomach twisted. Amber never wanted to leave the house, never volunteered for anything, especially not to hang out with us. Tyler hesitated but covered with a smile. "No need, we're just gonna go play for a little while." They seemed to accept that and we walked away. I had that feeling again, the one of being watched. No one else was on the streets, but I knew they were still watching us. We got to the park and I tried to play like always. We got to the swings, tossed stones into the pond, and even raced each other to the far side. For a moment, it felt normal. Tyler was the same as always, laughing at the silliest things, making up stories about invisible monsters in the park, and talking about the cartoon he had watched last night. I felt a bit more at ease, because at least Tyler seemed to be the same. But something seemed to be bothering Tyler. He kept glancing around, like someone was about to show up. And I used his discomfort to ask about last night. I asked if he thought his family was acting differently, and he just looked confused, asking me what I meant. "You know, they're different, way nicer and happier." I made sure to mention their smiles, those strange smiles. But he played dumb and said maybe they're just trying to be a better family, which would be a strange thing to do overnight, so suddenly and abruptly. I mentioned what had happened the night before, Tyler's mom leaving late at night, the loud noise, the screams. I told him everything. Tyler just looked at me with a confused face. He said my dreams were always pretty weird. That was the worst part. Not even my best friend believed me. Maybe it was a nightmare, but I'm sure it wasn't. Suddenly, everything went cold, and I got chills down my spine. I didn't know who or why, but I felt watched again. I tried to keep the conversation going, but that feeling was the worst. It wouldn't leave me alone. I gave in, and I asked if we could just leave. But even so, the feeling followed me all the way home. We didn't talk much on the way. I just wanted to get out of there. And Tyler seemed kind of quiet too. Maybe he was just tired, or maybe he noticed how uncomfortable I was. But he didn't say anything. I got home, had lunch with my family, and I tried to go on with the day like nothing happened. But the feeling of being watched still clung to me, like it was stuck to my skin. That afternoon dragged on, and at night I had dinner in silence. My parents talked to each other, and my little brother was drawing something in his notebook. Then it was time for bed. Again, I woke up in the middle of the night. Unfortunately, I knew what to expect. It was like something was pulling me towards the window, just to look out. I moved slowly, hoping there would be nothing there, hoping I could just go back to sleep afterward. And I jumped when I saw Mr. Mason staring at me from his lawn. I quickly left the window and I ran to my bed, crawling under the covers and facing the wall. But what I didn't know is I would regret that. Everything was quiet. I could hear my heart pounding and the wind blowing, my heavy breathing, and again, that feeling of being watched. But a little different this time. It felt like the thing was close. It felt like it was right behind me. I heard a different sound right behind me, the sound of wood creaking, and a chill ran down through my whole body. I was panicking. It felt like there was a monster right behind me, and it knew I wasn't asleep. It was just waiting for the moment I turned so it could attack. The feeling was terrible. The noises wouldn't stop. There was definitely something behind me. I was so sure of it. It got to the point I couldn't tell if it was touching my back or if it was just my blanket. Then I felt something in my hair. Thin, small, moving on my head. Curiosity took over and fear consumed me. If I turned around, he would catch me. But if I didn't, he still would. So, almost on impulse, I turned around. And there was nothing there. No one. But what had been in my hair was a spider. Of course I got scared, messing at my hair, trying to get the spider out. But I think I've never been so happy to have a spider on my head. I turned my back to the wall again, trying to sleep, knowing I wouldn't be surprised again. The night passed. The previous ones had been strange, but the next ones were just plain unsettling. And that's the first part of their story. So I'm really excited to read another one. So I'm gonna go check out to see if they have another one uploaded, because that one is super strange and I'm really curious what the hell is going on with that family. So let's go to part 2. After the scare of the last few nights, bedtime had become more and more terrifying for me. At breakfast, my parents noticed I wasn't feeling well. They asked what was wrong. I just said I had woken up from a nightmare and I had a spider on my head, which was basically true. But I didn't mention seeing Mr. Mason the night before, staring at me from his backyard. The day was cloudy, very gray. Those days that drain your energy, leaving you with nothing but the urge to sleep until the day is over. I thought about everything that had happened. I felt disconnected from the world around me, sinking deeper into darker and more unsettling thoughts about the Masons. But I snapped back to reality when I realized my mom had been calling me. She must have been calling me for a while, but I hadn't noticed. I thought you'd gone deaf, she said, almost impatiently. I must have been really ignoring her. I needed to deliver a package to Tyler's house. They delivered it by mistake, she said, showing me the package on the table. My heart stopped for a moment. The thought of going there and seeing them after the nights that I had watched me. The memory of Mr. Mason staring at me from the darkness in the previous night made me shudder to my bones. His empty eyes watching me, making me feel like I was being hunted. It was terrifying just thinking about seeing him ever again. I wanted to say no, but I couldn't say no to my mom. But really, what was the problem? They lived right across the street. I just had to knock on the door, deliver the package, and leave. No need to talk or anything, right? The thought of crossing the street felt like walking into a trap. The house, which once seemed so ordinary, now looked dark and empty, its walls washed out by the gray of the day. As I approached, the cold wind seemed to carry a distant whisper. The yard was empty, with no sign of life, just like the house. Gray days really take the life out of everything, but it's not like there was much life in that house anyway. The door in the house was slightly open, as if it was calling me in, but something inside me told me to stay away. I stood there for a moment, staring at the door, hesitating to knock when I finally found the courage. I raised my hand to knock, but the door opened by itself, and Miss Mason stepped out from behind it. Even though it was early, she was already perfectly put together, wearing a floral fancy dress, the kind you wear to elegant trips, light makeup with a little red on her cheeks. Her hair was more perfect than ever, and of course, that damn smile. "Hi dear, what did you bring for us?" she asked, tilting her head, her voice too sweet, almost forced. I handed her the package without thinking twice. My mom asked me to deliver this. It was delivered to us by mistake. My voice low, trying to avoid prolonging the conversation. She took the package and asked, "Don't you want to come in for a minute? Tyler's inside. You can hang out with him. I'm sure you'll have fun." I swallowed hard. Of course, on a normal day, I would accept, because I liked hanging out with Tyler. But after everything that had happened, I wanted to get far away from his parents. "No thanks, I'm fine. I just need to go," I said, trying to leave quickly. But before I could take the first step, a shadow moved behind me, and the air seemed to freeze around me. I turned, and a chill ran down my spine. Mr. Mason was standing there behind me, his tall, motionless figure imposing his broad body. His eyes seemed to follow me with an unsettling intensity, as if he was waiting for an answer. I didn't know when he appeared. 1 minute ago, he wasn't there in his yard. Why not come in? I'm sure Tyler would like to visit with you. His voice soft, but with firmness that made me freeze. I found myself paralyzed in the situation. Fear took over me, and I wanted to run, to get out of there, scream, but my body wouldn't obey me. Miss Mason stayed behind me, her smile never leaving her face, an expression that wasn't really an expression. It was just a mask. I really need to go, I mumbled, my voice failing. But they were both waiting. The silence between us weighing like a stone on my chest. I held my breath, trying to find a way out of this moment, any space that would let me escape. Mr. Mason took a step forward, not aggressively, not quickly, but enough to make me step back, causing my foot to stumble slightly. He raised one hand as if to guide me inside. Miss Mason, now at my side, gently touched my shoulder. Her hand was delicate, but the discomfort was immediate. Each of her fingers feeling too cold, too light, almost unreal. She didn't hold me, but it felt like she wouldn't let me escape. You're really going to refuse such a kind invitation? She said, her voice still sweet, still smiling. Mr. Mason watched me closely, too closely. His eyes wouldn't blink. I felt my stomach turn. The whole situation was uncomfortable and disturbing. I felt like I was going to start crying at any moment. Sorry, I managed to say, shrinking my shoulders to shrug off the touch, almost on the verge of tears. My mom, she asked me to come home quickly. I turned around and I started walking, quickly. I couldn't bring myself to look back, not even when I felt their eyes burning my back, not even when I heard the door slam shut behind me. Once I was inside the house, I was almost hyperventilating, my eyes welling up in tears. This was probably the most disturbing experience I'd ever had. I leaned my back against the door and I slid down to the floor. I felt small. I stayed there for a few minutes, trying to control my breathing, trying to convince my mind that I was safe, but I couldn't. Their image was still glued in my eyes. Her touch was still on my shoulder. My mom appeared in the hallway. Are you okay? I nodded without even looking at her. I delivered the package. I was just coming back. She frowned, but didn't press. She seemed to know I wasn't in the mood for conversation. I locked myself in my room and I didn't want to go out or talk to anyone. I needed some time alone. And in that, I ended up falling asleep. Some time passed and I woke up to knocks on my bedroom door. It was my mom and she wanted to talk. A little calmer now, I decided to open the door for her. She said that the Masons told her what had happened. They said that they had scared you and didn't mean to. They said that they were very sorry and suggested something. She said, now pulling on a smile, trying to cheer me up. They suggested you and Tyler have a sleepover. Finally, some good news. The Masons scared me, but Tyler didn't. He had been my friend for years and also the only normal one in that house. When my mom left my room, leaving me with a forced smile, I just wanted everything to go back to normal. I wanted to be that kid who wasn't afraid to cross the street or to look out the window. I got ready, put on a comfortable t-shirt and pants, and I tried to breathe deeply, but the feeling of nervousness was still there, deep in my throat. It was only when I heard the doorbell that my mind jumped. I peeked through the window, and Tyler stood at the door with a backpack on his back. He always arrived on time for our adventures, our endless conversations. I went to the door excited, and I quickly opened it. I saw Tyler with a super excited face, like he was going to be the best night ever. And behind him, his family stood. Oh my God, okay, there's one more update. Let's go to it. So far, this story is just really strange. It's not super scary, it's just weird. Tyler smiled when he saw me, the same smile as always, but I couldn't smile back because behind him, standing on the sidewalk, was his parents. Miss Mason waved with that cold hand, and Mr. Mason just stood there, motionless, watching me. Can I come in? Tyler asked. I nodded slightly and I stepped aside. When he entered, I looked over my shoulder one last time before shutting the door and locking it with a chain. He took off his shoes and dropped his backpack on the couch. Until then, everything seemed too normal. You look nervous, he said, heading to the kitchen. You okay? Just a weird feeling. I don't think I slept well, I said. He shrugged, grabbed a glass of water, and changed the subject. But no matter what we talked about, the feeling wouldn't go away. Night came, and with that, the silence of the house. The night started off calm. For the first time in days, I felt a little safer. Tyler was there, lying on the mattress beside me, and we talked for a while about silly things, like we used to before all of this. For a moment, it was like nothing strange was happening. Without even noticing, we fell asleep. But as usual, something had to ruin it for me. We woke up in the middle of the night to noises in the house, hurried footsteps and whispers. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest again. It's the Masons, I thought, but relief washed over me when I recognized the voices. They were my own parents. I ran out of the room. My mom was in tears, completely frantic. My dad was carrying my little brother. His tiny body was shaking, his face red as fire, sweating so much that his hair clung to his forehead. His eyes barely stayed open, rolling back now and then. Each breath sounded weak, dragging, like he was struggling not to fade out completely. "High fever," Mom said, desperate. "He's burning up. We're taking him to the hospital." I stood frozen for a second, trying to process everything. "Stay here. The house is locked. Don't open the door for anyone," my dad said before rushing out with my mom. The door slammed shut behind them. And then, silence. I stared at the closed door. When I turned my head upstairs, back to my room, Tyler was already standing on the stairs watching everything. "I'm sorry about your brother. I hope he'll be okay," Tyler said, eyes fixed on the door. We stood there in silence for a while. Then we went up to the room and sat on the mattress. The house felt empty. No little brother laughing, no footsteps from our parents, just the muffled sound of the living room clock and our breathing. We didn't say anything. We just looked at each other in silence. A silence that was broken. "I wanted to tell you..." Tyler was cut off by knocks on the front door. 3 soft knocks. At that moment, fear took over. I covered my mouth with my hands, and I didn't want whatever was out there to even hear me breathing. The knocks returned, always rhythmic, like whoever was outside knew exactly what they were doing. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks. Pause. I froze, heart pounding, cold sweat trailing down my neck. 1,000 thoughts ran through my head. It could be anything behind that door. A thief, a stranger, or a monster. But what scared me the most was the thought that it could be the Masons. The doorknob turned, slowly, forcefully. It was locked, chained in place, but just the metallic sound of the attempt made me tremble. Then we heard the voice. "Son, it's me. Mommy forgot her purse. Open up real quick, please." It was my mom's voice, but she couldn't be here. I looked at Tyler, desperate. He remained still, but now clenched his fist tightly. "That's not your mom," he said through gritted teeth. "She just left in the car. There's no way." More knocking, more louder, impatient. "Sweetheart, open the door. It's cold out here." I tried not to respond, not to react. My eyes were burning and my body shaking. She spoke with such sadness, making me feel guilty for not opening the door. Then she spoke again, with that same sweet, familiar voice, but now with a firmer, almost threatening tone to it. "Your little brother, he won't last much longer out in this cold." My legs gave out. I looked at Tyler, and he didn't say a word, but his eyes said everything. He was terrified. My hands moved on their own, and I stood up quickly, tripping on the mattress, nearly falling, heading straight for the stairs. My purse, my mom's purse, and my brother. My mind couldn't think straight. The voice outside was hers, and I had known that voice my whole life. "I have to open the door," I murmured, already going down the steps faster and faster, almost like I was in a trance. And then a hand grabbed my arm. "Hey!" "It's not her," said Tyler. I tried to pull away, but he gripped tighter. "Let me go, Tyler. That's my mom. My brother could die if I don't open the door." "No, it's not," he said firmly. "It's my parents." I froze. His words echoed in my head like a gunshot. For a moment, everything went silent. The voice stopped, the doorknob stilled, and I stared at the door. Then suddenly, the knob started turning again, this time with more force and way more violent. The chain rattled against the door. And then a scream, an inhuman scream. A scream that tore from the throat, raw with rage and despair. A scream that revealed something monstrous. My vision blurred with tears, my mind in chaos. My body trembled with fear, anger, and confusion. We returned to the bedroom after the terrible scream, and I shut the door and I leaned against it, my body still shaking. I sat down slowly, hands still trembling. Tyler sat beside me and didn't say a word. He stared at the wall, lost in thought. I took a deep breath, trying to hold back the returning tears. "You knew," I said softly, unable to look at him. "From the start, you knew. When I asked about your parents, you avoided it." He didn't reply right away. He paused. "I didn't want to drag you into this. I only managed to stay here because I acted normal, like nothing had happened. I think if I had confronted them, I would have been replaced too. I thought that if I told you, you might also be replaced." I stayed silent, trying to process his words. Tyler was scared, the same fear I was feeling now. And the night dragged on. We each lay in our corners, too afraid to talk. The room felt like a refuge, but also a prison. The living room clock made sure to mark every second with an irritating tick-tock, as if mocking our attempts to ignore what was out there. At some point, sleep overtook me. I closed my eyes, even knowing it was risky, and then everything faded. I woke up to the faint sound in the middle of the night, and something felt off. It took me a while to realize the mattress beside me was empty, and Tyler was gone. I tried to move, my body wouldn't respond. It was like I was trapped inside myself. That's when I saw a silhouette. Tyler was standing, his back to me in front of the window. The curtain was slightly open, and he was whispering low, almost inaudible, like he was talking to someone outside. My eyes burned, my mind screamed, my body remained still. My heart raced when I heard a voice, weak, dragging, from the other side of the glass. "You promise he'll be safe?" Tyler asked in a low, hesitant tone. There was a pause. A sound responded, a raspy, distorted voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once, even though it was faint. My breath caught. I was trying to scream, trying to move, but I couldn't. "You can't hurt him. Not now, not ever," Tyler said as I could hear the trembling in his voice. The creature replied again, now more firmly, "I promise." Then Tyler fell silent for a moment, then slowly nodded. "Then take me." My heart stopped. He glanced over his shoulder. He saw me and knew I was listening. And still, he smiled, a sad, small smile. Then he opened the window. A cold wind swept into the room, lifting the edges of the curtain, and out there in the darkness, a figure moved. I couldn't see the face, just the eyes. Eyes that glowed for a second before Tyler threw himself into the shadows. The window closed slowly. The curtain stopped swaying, and the room turned to silence. It took a minute before my body moved again, but then it was all over. The next day, I saw Tyler again, but it wasn't really him. And now, he wears that same damn smile as his parents. And that's the whole story. So that one obviously isn't the most terrifying story I've ever read on my channel, but I found it really weird. And the whole time I was like, what the actual fuck is happening? I was gonna cut it up into 3 videos, but it's not that long. So I figured one long video would be a treat for you guys, considering you guys are always asking me for longer style videos. And I finally had a 3-part story that was ready to go. So that one was just really eerie and weird. And I'm really curious as to what the fuck his parents were replaced with, what those monsters are, what they're doing, what the entire purpose of them being there is, and what the fuck is happening, and is his little brother okay? There's just so many loose ends that I have questions for and I want answers to, but I don't know. We will see if there will be a further update in the future. If there's going to be another update, I will update you guys in another video, but that is all that they have posted at the moment. So thank you so much to that author for allowing me to read their story. It was really freaking creepy. And like I said, it wasn't the most scary, but it was still creepy enough that it fit the theme of our channel. And I like to sprinkle in a little bit of no sleep here and there just to remind you guys that it's fictional and it's not real and it's not actually going to get you and replace you, whatever the fuck that thing is, it's fake. So we can breathe knowing that that's not real, because I'm literally home alone right now and that is fucking terrifying. But this is where I'm going to end the video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please leave me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this. If you guys haven't already joined my spooky family, please hit the subscribe button, join my family. And if you have any spooky stories that you want to share, if you have any real stories that you want to share with me, things that have happened to you guys, no sleep stories are fictional, but if you guys have any creepy, let's not meet, paranormal stories yourself that you've experienced, or anything creepy that you want to share and have me read on the channel, feel free to either message me over Instagram or over my email, and I would love to read more of your guys' creepy stories, because I don't really have very many stories from you guys anymore, and I would love to read you guys' personalized ones. If you made it to the end of the video, leave me a Halloween emoji in my comment section down below. If there's a Frankenstein emoji or a monster emoji, leave it in my comment section down below. It allows me to know that you guys made it to the end of the video, and it helps boost my video in the algorithm because it just gives it a boost for comments. Even if you guys don't want to leave an emoji, you can just leave me something about your day. Just leave me a comment down below and I will reply to everybody that leaves me one. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.